this computer. Yes. Yay. You get to have an entire lecture now, hopefully. Okay, so a client-server relationship is basic to how things work on the internet. What differentiates a web server from a different type of server, say a mail server?
Just that it's rendering web pages, maybe, as opposed to returning mail.
Yeah, web servers render web pages. They communicate over what protocol?
HTTP?
Mm-hmm. You got it, Nico. Right, so HTTP is what the web is built on. HTTP and its very close cousin HTTPS, which is just HTTP with encryption added. Okay. So a server only listens for requests. That's important. A server, at least a web server, is not reaching out and proactively sending information. A web server is listening for information so that when you go to a website, you request a web page or a resource and it sends it to you. So the client is actually the one doing the asking. The client being your web browser or something along those lines, mobile app. So let's have a look at a typical, here, let me open a new window. Okay. All right, so let's have a look. I'm going to go to icanhasdadjoke.com. It's I memorized all the, actually no I didn't, but I'm big on dad jokes, and this is actually a fun API to play with. So this is, and Jang, actually, this would be something to play with when it comes to promises. If you want to practice promises, this is great because it's a free open API and the data doesn't really mean much. So if you go to /API, it gives you information about the API, but I'm just going to go directly to the random dad joke, which is, how do you get two whales in a car? Start in England and drive west. Oh, that's bad. Ow. Ow. Ooh, that's painful. So let's have a look in a bit more detail about how this works. So I'm going to open up the inspector. Paige is an expert in the inspector at this point. So if you have inspector questions, Paige is your person. Okay, so I'm going to open this up. If you are on a Mac, it's Command Option I, and on Windows, it's Control Alt I think. And if you're on Linux, you know what you're doing, and I don't have to tell you. I'm using Firefox, but it might look slightly different from the web browser that you're using. However, it has the same functionality. So let me go to the network tab, okay? And right here is everything that I request from this page is going to appear as a list here when I reload the page. So I'm going to reload the page now. And here we go. Here are all of the requests. You could see I reloaded what biscuit does a short person like shortbread. Oh, ow, ow. So here we could see all of the resources that we requested when we sent the request out for this page. So, whoa, smile.svg, that is a very large SVG. So the first thing that always happens is a request goes out to what we call the root of the path that we're going to. And that root is at, we call that slash or the root. The root then tells my browser about all of the other resources that I am going to need in order to load this page. So there it looks like there are 1, 2, 3 JavaScript files, an SVG, which is an image, a PNG, and a bunch of other PNGs. Okay, so for the most part, this is a very basic page. Going to a larger site, you're going to see perhaps hundreds of these. You also notice that 2 of these are blanked out. I run an ad blocker, and it's blocking these are tracker scripts from Google. I have nothing against Google. Google is great. I use them as my search engine, but they don't get anything from me for free. So I'm if they want to track me, well, then they're going to have to try harder. Okay. So we can look at these individual notices. Also the status here, and I'll get into status in a little bit. You also notice that there is a method. Here, let me just open this up a bit more. And a get method. I was speaking about this last week. Can somebody tell me what the get method is?
Get request, like you're asking the server.
Yeah, absolutely. So all I'm doing is requesting a resource. If I wanted to send a resource, how would I do that?
Post.
Exactly. So here, this is all get because I'm not posting anything. I'm not sending anything to this, this page. Let's drill in. And if I have a look here, this is what the request looks like coming from my browser, or sorry, this is the response, I should say. I always get confused because the response comes first. This is the request that I sent. Now, I didn't send it, my browser did. No one has time to type out all of this themselves, so browsers do all this on our behalf. So it's going to get all of this information or send this information to the site. And the site responded with some information, first of all, but it also sending headers. And these are the headers here. Request, nothing in there. And this is the response. So this is what was sent back for that one file. This is why you see this without styling. It's because this is the response to this request. It did launch off a number of other requests after this was pulled in, but this was pulled in first. Okay, and if you actually come down here, you can see that this is 9.5 kilobytes, which isn't very much, but it used to be huge. My first computer had 32K of RAM, so yeah. This is kind of cool. You could see what was waiting, and there's blocked. Don't worry about that so much, but there's a bunch of cool information up here that you can look at. and pull up down information. This is actually going to be very useful for you in the future. Same tool is available in Chrome and Safari and probably Edge, but I don't run Edge, so I couldn't tell you. And if you're running IE, then you don't belong in this class. No, I'm kidding. You can stay. You can stay. We'll educate you into using real software. Okay. So let's go to these status codes. Okay, so the first status code we see here is 200. Does anybody know what a status code of 200 is? Holly remembers. No?
No. It's
Oh,
like
It's something good. That's all I know.
It's a
These things
slow
are working,
response
right?
that's connected.
200 is the happy number. If it's 200 and something, then something good has happened. 300 series means you can use the cached version that you have. So when you request a web page, that freaks me out every time I hover over that. Every time you request a web page, it sends you all of the information, all of the files, and these files are actually stored on your computer, just like Word docs, Excel docs, anything else that you're going to store on your machine, you're storing these files. And occasionally you may have been told to clear your cache if there was an issue with a web page. And that is exactly what you're doing. You're going into the cache and you're deleting all of the files in the cache. So that's what these 300 series are doing. It's saying nothing has changed since the last time, so you can use the version that you have. And for some reason, I'm getting this Apple Touch PNG and this Favicon PNG is also sending 200. Maybe it expired, who knows? So this is the communication that happens every time you go to a web page. And as web developers, you're going to have to know this fairly well, because this is how people are going to get the web pages that you're going to create, and they're going to be sent over a web server, and that's how that works. Okay. All right, I'm going to close that before I hover over that scary looking smiley guy again, because that's freaking me out. Okay. So it's client server. So I've spoken about HTTP and web servers. So let's actually, let's create our own tiny little web server. Okay, it's going to be tiny. So let me open up my terminal here. Okay, so the only thing in this file right now is this README file. And all I'm going to do is I am going to do npm npm init. And what this is going to do, you know what npm init does. I'm going to do it -y so it just answers everything. Everybody's aware of what npm init does? You must by now. Okay, so I now have the basis of creating a Node application. So let's do that. So I'm going to create a file. I'm going to call it simple server. Okay. All right, so let's get started. Okay. Just checking my cheat sheet. So the first thing that I need to do to create a web server is to pull in a Node package that allows me to communicate with the HTTP protocol. Not surprisingly, the name of the package is HTTP. So okay. You don't have to npm install this. This is included with Node by default. And we're also, I'm going to set a another variable. I'm going to call set a port. And why I'm setting this port is because in order to run on the actual port that I need for regular web traffic, anybody know what port that is?
$80.
You got it, Todd. Give yourself a star. So 80 is great, but because it's one of the lower ports or the higher order ports, in order to use those, you have to like set up security and such. I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to have it run on a non-standard port. In this case, it's just 8080. There's no magic behind that port. I could choose any number over 1,000 and it would be the same. All right. So how do I create a server? Well, let's create a server, const server. What's it going to be equal to? So we're going to call the HTTP package. And oh, look at this. I love VS Code. It just gives us all this really useful information. So I'm going to run http.createServer. It's a method. And this method takes a callback. Okay. So I'm going to put the callback in line here. And the callback is going to be passed two things. It's going to be passed the request. So remember, this is a server. The server receives the request. So when the server gets a request, it's going to fire this method up. And I can look at the request there. And it's also going to get the response here. I'm just gonna request response. This is the only time I will ever type those out in full. It's normally REQ, but for the first time, we're going to do that. Okay, so that is going to run, and then we need to configure the information that we need. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a home page. Okay, or better yet, yeah, all right, we're going to do this. This is response.write. We're just going to respond to any request to my web server with this is a web server. All right, it's boring, but you know. Am I missing anything? I ask questions when I want to take a sip of coffee.
You have to end the connection after that.
Yep. Yep. That is, it's only polite. So the response object has a method, well, a bunch of methods. One of them's called write and one of them's called end. Okay. Anything else?
You have to make it listen.
You got it. You got it. How do I do that, Gottfried?
There should be a listen method that you call on the server object.
Somebody's been reading ahead. And this is where I'm going to put in the port, right? And there is a second parameter I can pass this. It is optional. I'm going to pass it. It is a callback. And all I'm going to say in this callback is okay. So this is going to fire when I start up my server, when I tell it to start listening. So let's do that right now. Simple server. There we go. All right. So the first thing is that my callback fired. I could tell that because it says listening on port 8080. Let's see this in action. 1 second. Okay, so I'm just going to go local host 8080. There we go. I have created a web server. All right, that's pretty cool. It's a pretty simple web server though. Let's not Reddit. Let's go to a route on the server. Let's go to about. It's responding with the same thing. That's annoying, but it is expected. Right? All we're telling the web server to do is to write this response no matter what the request is. Note that I've never even addressed the request. So it's just going to blindly answer everything with the same thing. It's going to write back to the server, this is a web server, or sorry, to the client, it's going to write, this is a web server. Okay. So how do we change that? Well, that's kind of interesting. Let's have a look at this request object, okay? So I'm going to console.log it. Okay. And save that. And I have to restart my node server. Okay, and let's refresh. Okay, and a billion things scrolled up. This is the request. It's an object like any other JavaScript object. It's huge. Don't let that set you off. You are not going to need 99% of what's here. But one of the things we do have access to, and I'm not even going to look for it in that, is we do have access to the method. So let's go back and change. Let's go back and change this request to the request.method. Okay. So let's save that. Let's restart our node server. And let's send another request. All right. That is cool. So it's telling me that a GET request was received by the web server. Okay, what else can we get? No pun intended. Let's also get the request.url. Okay, so let's once again, stop that, restart it, rerun this. Oh. So now we can see that we are receiving in that request object the route. So if you have a look here, right, that I've steered to /about. If I come here and change that to a regular slash, you could see that it says get slash. If I say slash contact, say slash contact. So now I have a way of differentiating between the different requests that are coming into my web server. So how can I use this information to set it up so that I have a different response for each different URL that I go to? Let's stop our server. Okay. And what we're going to do is we are going to if request .url equals and it actually is going to be /about, not /abur. If it is going to do that, then I want to right. And just for the time being, I'm going to put this in an else. Why am I putting this second response.write in an else? Anybody know? Any ideas?
You like it overridden?
Okay, I don't know who was first. Brianna, was that you? No? Okay. Allison, there you go. The yellow rectangle of reveal is over your picture. So you said something.
Oh, just my guess was this, that you would have something to write just in case the person didn't go to the about page.
Yep, exactly. So let's start up again. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to change this right now to the regular page. Right. Okay. This is a web server. So what happens if I pass /about? Awesome. So this is what we call routing, and we often call the path a route. So all the big web frameworks and many of the smaller ones as well have a way to route between different pages. Otherwise, why do you need a web framework? You could just write the single page of HTML. So we can now put all our routes in a very long if else, or maybe even a switch statement, something along those lines. Not that I like switch statements, but hey, what do I know? So one of the things that we can do, and this is a clever trick, is we can create an object. Inside the object, we can create on one side, a URL, and on the other side, a message. Okay. And instead of having a big if else in here, let me just comment this out. What we can do is we can type the response dot write, and whatever the response dot write is going to depend on what the URL is. So let's put request or here routes. No, not that. You seeing what I'm doing here? So the slash about will do the we'll write this is the home page. Let me show you. Didn't, because I didn't restart my web server. Momentary panic there.
Save too.
Thank you. I do this all the time, by the way, not just when I'm in front of you, but also in my other job. Okay, so let's refresh. This is the home page. This is still the about page. Isn't this way better than a huge if else or even a switch statement, right? You can just put any number of routes you want, and then what's going to be output out of the end of it. That's going to write to the page. Now, this is pretty cool, but you're probably thinking, boy, is that going to get annoying very quickly, and you would not be wrong. It would be very annoying if we had to do all of this manual routing for our web servers. Okay, so we've got, yep, I did that. So luckily, there are a number of, like there are a number of front-end JavaScript frameworks. There are a number of back-end frameworks as well. And the one I'm going to show you today is called Express. And Express basically just uses the built-in HTTP packet, but it makes things a little bit nicer for us. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off that because I am going to create a new file. Now, I should say that there are many, many, many frameworks. Express is one of the most popular ones for Node. Ruby on Rails is also a framework that will be taught later in this course. And that is written in a completely different programming language as well. But for our purposes today, we're just going to make a super simple Express server. So first thing to know about Express is that it is not built in. So we're going to have to install it. Matter of fact, before I install it, let's have a look. There we go. I've been here before because I've used Node in production. And here we go. So it's telling us how to install Node, getting started. Pretty much every single framework is going to have this sort of thing. One of the things that I do, or I try to do, is every time I hear of a new technology more than 3 times, I will come and run the getting started tutorial just to see what it's like. Okay, so it's saying, all right, npm init, great. Entry point is called index.js. Okay, great. And I have to install Express. Why would I ever do that? I don't know. Okay, so let's install Express. You can use I for short for install. And you no longer have to do the -- save. The people who wrote NPM realized that pretty much everybody always saved. So that's just the default behavior now. So I'm going to install Express, not dry run here. Hold on. I'm using a tool called Fig, which is giving me autocomplete on my terminal, but I don't really want that right now. Okay, so it's going to go out, it's going to grab the Express and everything that Express depends on. Have I mentioned that you should never have to go into node modules? And if you do, only madness lies here. It's crazy. I just installed 50 modules. I don't know what many of these do. But I don't need to, because this is what Express is relying on in order to do its thing. I should also mention, I'm familiar with Express, so I'm completely comfortable installing it like this because I've done it a million times. However, maybe you're not quite as comfortable with a framework, or maybe somebody tells you to use a different framework. So how do you know it's safe? How do you know you're not downloading, like, you know, some scammer's code? Well, there is a way. You can do an npm search for the whatever term you like. So I'm going to do an npm search for Express, and the reply I get back is a number of different packages that are very close to the name that I installed. It's hard to read because you only have like 20 or so characters, and it's hard to read. So if you think you know which one you want, you can actually get more information by not Express, npm info. This will give you even more information. And this tells us everything we need to know, the website for it, the keywords. This is a way of determining whether you're actually running or downloading the correct package, and a bunch of information, including all of the packages that it depends on, and people that you can bug. Actually, don't bug the maintainers of Express, but do go to their website, because I'm certain that there would be resources. Here we go, community and technical committee. So it's a bunch of people, and there's a mailing list, IRC channel. Hello, 1994, would you like to have your protocol back? IRC is great. It's like Slack before Slack existed. Gitter is also a chat room, so you can pop into Gitter and ask questions. A lot of these sites are very welcoming of new people, so don't worry about bothering them. Ask whatever questions you want, and in general, you'll get a polite reply. Okay, that's a little bit of a tangent, but that's all right. Okay, so let's create our Express server. So the first thing I'm going to do this looks familiar. And I'm going to require the Express package. So this is the node module that I'm pulling in, right? That I've installed already. If I hadn't installed this, I would get an error. Okay. And the first thing I need to do is invoke the method that I get back. So I'm just, this is, there's nothing magic about the calling it app. I'm just calling it app. Okay. All right. So I've created an app. So this is very much like all of this right here. I have created an app. So let's also go down, and I'm going to do the listen. So it's app.listen. And we will also go on port 8080. Hey, let's do the same thing. Here, we'll do 8081 in case somebody wants to run both of them at the same time. Okay, so we're going to app.listen on the port.
What happens if two apps are using the same port?
Whoever got there first wins, and the second one won't start. It'll say, hey, sorry, somebody else is already there. It's like musical chairs for ports. Okay. No, excellent question there. Okay, so I'm doing the listen. Generally, I like to put the listen in almost immediately when I write an app. Obviously, nothing's going to happen right away because I've not told it to respond to anything. So let's create our first route. And the first route that I'm going to do is a get route. And I'm saying, when somebody goes to the root route, that's a fun thing to say, we're going to run this callback. And the callback takes request response. Hey, that looks familiar. No. And we are going to say response.send that deserves an exclamation mark. Okay, so have a look at this and compare it to this. Now, admittedly, this has two routes and this has one. But this, I think this, you could see that using Express is going to be far easier, especially because we don't have to worry about trying to figure out how to route to whatever endpoint we want to go to. Does anybody know what I mean when I say endpoint? Sometimes go ahead.
URL?
And sure, it's the URL plus the path. So that is the endpoint. So let's go and run this. So I'm going to run node express server.js. And if I haven't done anything wrong, and I haven't, it looks like, let's go to here. Let's actually. There we go. I have a web server. Again, it's not sending me, and it's not sending anything that looks like a web page. Let's change that a little bit. Okay, I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to put some header tags around this. Now, the purpose of this lecture is not to talk about HTML tags, but this is basically how you structure a web page. I'm sure most of you knew that. All right, so let's restart our server and refresh. And now you can see that it has been made a larger text size, because that is the default size of an H1 tag on a web page. Okay. Are there any questions at this point? Anything at all?
Yeah, say you wanted to, like right now you have everything on localhost,
Yep.
but if you wanted to log in from like your phone
Mm-hmm.
to check it,
Yep.
you would, is it as easy as just putting your IP address as the.
So let's try that out. So obviously it's going to be hard for me to do this. However, I happen to have another Mac sitting next to me. So let me see if I can remote into that. Okay. And oh, it's not working right now. Okay. But the answer to your question, Gottfried, is generally yes, you can. If you have a Mac, you can give it the computer name with .local. So here, there is a different way to do this with Windows, but I'm not familiar with it. So I can't help you for you Windows people. So here's my control panel. And if I go to security and privacy, don't worry, none of my passwords are here. I can go to or actually it's not security privacy. It is here, hold on. No, not that one. I've done this before. Network. Is it network? No. Come on. I'm probably looking right at it. And it used to be called sharing.
Like, I guess what I'm asking is if this server that you created is just open to the world now.
It is open to my internal network.
Okay.
You cannot reach my server because
Right.
I have a firewall and I also have private IP space behind my firewall. So if I wanted to, I could actually set up my router so that if it received a request to my router's IP address on port 80, it would respond with a web page. I could actually do that, and I've done that in the past. Unfortunately, Rogers kind of like doesn't like people doing that, so it really is a bad experience. So you should not run a web server from your home connection. All right. So what you need to do here, and yes, the name of my computer is Cerritos. Does anybody get that? Okay, that's your break homework. Figure out what Cerritos means. And if I come, which one is it? It is, might be, oh, there we go. Internet sharing, maybe. There is a way to share your, or to output a web server that's running on your Mac. You still need to do a bunch of things like open up the firewall on your Mac. So here, security, not displays. No trackpad, come on. Yeah. Don't try and figure out my password. Oh, obviously, I can't figure it out either. Okay, and you would just come into firewall options, and you can actually set a web server on here so that external devices can access your web server. Because by default, they close things down. Again, Apple and most computer manufacturers these days are very security conscious. So they don't want just anybody to run a web server on their machine, because just anybody will get hacked, and that's not good for business. All right, let's take a 10-minute break. How does that sound? Good. Can I nap in 10 minutes? That's the question. Okay, I'll see everybody back here at 10 after the hour. I'll stick around if you want to ask questions.
Hey, John, is Express used a lot, or what are people using for backend frameworks?
Everything. So right at the moment, I'm working for a company that uses Ruby on Rails. I have used Express in the past. There are a lot of big companies use Java. Node is getting more popular over time. Microsoft, so my C# and ASP.NET. That's the Microsoft version. So a lot of companies run on the Microsoft stack.
Okay. Yeah, you'd think that because Express is JavaScript, it would be, you having one language on front and back end would be an advantage, but
that's what Node pushes. There's, and perhaps unfairly, there's a bit of a stigma associated with JavaScript, because early versions of JavaScript were very slow and buggy. Because it wasn't really built, the original version of JavaScript was very, it wasn't built to do very much.
Right.
They didn't think about everything that people have figured out how to do with it. So right up until Google released their Chrome browser with their V8 JavaScript engine, then all of a sudden JavaScript became good enough to use as a backend language.
Right. And it's got the asynchronous thing going for it too,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yep. There are advantages and disadvantages to everything.
Yeah, right.
For instance, by default, JavaScript runs on what we call a single thread,
Mhm.
which means it does one thing at a time. It does it very fast, but it does one thing at a time. Many other languages do multiple things simultaneously, and they're multi-threaded.
Yeah, I was hoping you would say Express or JavaScript frameworks are really, really popular, because right now in this stage in my career, I feel like, oh, I'm starting to learn JavaScript.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be great if that's what we used?
So other students that I've just taught JavaScript and Node. I understand there is at least an intro to Rails in this course, so that's actually a good thing.
Okay.
Because it's good to know, right? And you're only going to become a better coder by learning different languages and different frameworks.
Okay.
Yeah, if I teach you React and I teach you Node and you never look at Rails or Angular, then you're not going to understand the differences. You're going to have a one-track mind.
Right, right.
So the more that you see other code, the better you get.
Okay. Yeah, I should probably say this. Maybe I can talk to you during office hours. I was going to also ask you about how much front end and back end do you do, but maybe you want to go have a coffee or something.
Oh, no, I've got water. So I do mostly front end. The project that I'm working on that I showed earlier, I've done all the front end work on that so far. The back end guy, he is working on getting somewhere for me to send the information. So I'm going to gather information, but I need somewhere to put it that I can then process it. So it's very tight timeline. I have to have it done by the end of next week.
Oh, wow. Cool. And what do you like working on better, front or back?
It's like, what do I like better, apples or oranges? I like both of them. They're different challenges to both. So backend is a lot of like, how do I process the most amount of data in the most efficient way possible to send it to a client? Whereas the client is, how do I make the user go, wow, this is cool? Or at least that's why I do front end, right? Like you can do boring front end, or you can try and add pizzazz. So like, learn how to do basic animations, and that will make your stuff stand out above and beyond anybody else's.
Okay. Cool. All right, I'm gonna go try and get a coffee, but I'll be back in a few. Thanks, John. Appreciate
No worries. No worries. Hey, Robert. Your internet connection's a little flaky today? Oh, that sucks. Every so often I see Robert Kelly is in the waiting room.
Yeah. That's yeah. I don't know what it is with Zoom, and like one thing is my Bluetooth, where it'll just constantly be like, actually, no, you get no sound now. And then yeah, this is a new laptop actually too, and random. I don't know. I did have about like 35 tabs open, unironically, but still, it was
Yeah.
just got really laggy out of nowhere, and I still got rid of most of them. And it was saying Firefox is using up like 70% of my
Yep, it'll do that.
What is this?
There's a reason I'm wired in rather than using my
Oh, okay.
$400 or however much AirPods.
Yeah.
Just I can't risk not being able to hear people.
Oh yeah. Fair.
I'm the teacher. I have to be able to
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah, I can't be just doing sign language or something to
Yeah.
communicate with like
Mm.
gestures.
All good, all good. As long as you can hear me, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry, it's might be sorry if it's annoying if it's constant, just like Robert.
Oh no, don't worry about it.
I keep getting
Don't.
technical issues. So
Yeah, do not worry at all, sir. I am perfectly good. All I have to do is click a button. It just appears right in front of me. So
fair.
I got to figure out some way to just allow you to enter whenever. Wonder if it's security. Allow participants to. No, I'm not going to lock the meeting. All right, I'll figure it out. What's the worst that can happen? Oh, yes, 10 after. Great. Time flies when you're having fun. Yeah, I love servers. I'm weird that way. I love weird things. So, but that's okay. Yeah, when you become a web developer, you'll gain passion for things you never thought you'd have passion for. Tabs or spaces. People have actual fights over that. Okay, so let's keep going. So we've got our very simple Express application running here. And it's pretty cool, but let's give it some real, let's make it do a real website, okay? So what should I do here? Okay. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to show middleware. So what middleware is they're packages of information or programs, I should say, that intercept all communications that are going on between the web server and the client and can interact with the request and the response. So how do we do that? So let's make our own middleware. Okay, so the way you use middleware is you invoke app, and the method on that is use, believe it or not. And once again, our good friend recres. Okay. There we go. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say console.log copy and paste because I'm lazy. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run a request for every connection to my web server. This is going to run. So when I run this, you should see down here at the bottom of my terminal, console.log, the request received, and this is its method. And then it should say get, because we haven't done any more methods here. So let's give this a try. So I'm going to reload the page. And, oh, I got to restart my server. Okay, so here is a cool trick. Restarting your server all the time in Node sucks. So there is a nodemon. So what nodemon is it just runs node and then watches your files, and then whenever you make a change to the files and save it, it reloads node for you auto-magically. And for people like me who keep forgetting little things like that, it is a lifesaver. So I'm going to run nodemon express server.js. There we go. Gets a little bit more output, but here. All right, so we've started and we now are on port 8081. Let's refresh. And
Haven't saved your file.
yes, yes, I noticed moment before you said that. Okay, so, all right, this is interesting. And I meant for this to happen, by the way. This is the weight in for Mozilla. Looks very Battlestar Galactica, but whatever. What's happening is that my browser has sent a request to my server, and my server has not responded. Now you do see the console.log message has come, but we've stopped. We've stalled somewhere. And the reason we've stalled is that we need to send in another parameter into our middleware, which is next. And what next is the next part of the queue. So what is either the next piece of middleware or what is the route that we want to go to? So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say, I'm just going to invoke next, which is a method. There we go. Okay, restarted. Said I was unable to connect, it timed out. Let's do this again. There we go, we're back. So the request was received and its method was get. Perfect, that's exactly what we wanted to see. Okay, and this is middleware. So this piece of middleware is not that useful. However, there a lot of people have created their own middleware. So let's install another piece of middleware. This is just this is something that you're going to like as a developer. It's going to help you out a bit.
Sorry, John, you're calling the middleware is app.use.
Yep. This is the middleware that I've written. Right? So this is this callback here is this middleware right here.
Got
So
it, okay.
if I pull that out and call it here. And then I could just say, same thing, right? So this is the middleware that I've passed in. Okay. But once again, it's a bit useless. It, great. It says I got a GET request. It doesn't tell me much. But there are other people who have created packages and they've realized, hey, middleware is going to be really useful. One of them is called Morgan. I don't know why it's called Morgan, but maybe the guy who made it is Morgan. I don't know, but whoever he is, or they are, they've created a really useful piece of information. So first thing I have to do is install it. Okay, only 4 packages that time. All right, and just like the middleware that I created myself, well, first of all, I have to pull it in, right? So const Morgan equals require Morgan. Right, and then I am going to, again, app.use Morgan. Now I need to also, I know that in this particular case, Morgan is, it needs to be passed a parameter, and the parameter is the environment. So I'm going to pass it the string dev because Morgan knows how to handle that. Okay, and let me start up NodeMon again. And there we go. And now when I make a request, it gives me more information. So this is like my console.log. It's giving me the method. It's giving me the route. It's giving me, I believe 304 is the size of the response and how long it took for that response to get there. So 4 milliseconds, that's not bad. I can't blink that fast, so that's a good good time. If I try to go to a different route, even one that doesn't exist, in this case, this doesn't exist, but you could see that, oh, this is not, oh, this is not the size. This is the ID or the status code. So 304, 300 series is still good. It means it was cached. 404, everybody knows what 404 is, right? 404 is not
Error.
found. Yeah, error, not found. My favorite error code or status code, by the way, is 418. Somebody tell me what 418 is. Here's a hint, you can Google it.
I'm a teapot.
That's right, I'm a teapot. It was a joke but somebody actually submitted it and it got accepted into the actual docs for running the internet. So now there is a I'm a teapot error code. Used when you ask a coffee maker to make yourself, or sorry, a tea kettle to make a cup of coffee. That's basically the only time you need to use that. And this is actually kind of fun. We can also send our own status codes when we send responses. So, but before I do that, let me see, what else do I want to do? Let's create a second route. So I'm lazy, as you are all aware. And I'm just going to take that one. And I'm going to say, there we go. About time for Express. Okay, so now I have more than one route. So now I have almost a web server. I have an about page, about time for Express. I have a home page. And in actuality, this isn't far off of the very first web page in the world. I showed that to you the other week, right? So this looks the same. It's got the same styling. And these are the built-in styles of the internet. Okay, so let's make it even better. Okay, so let's create, or let's make actual web pages so that we can look at an actual web page. Okay, so how do we go about doing that? Well, first thing we need to do is we need to think about how we're going to send the web page. And the way we're going to do that is by using what we call a template engine. And there are a lot of them, like so many other things. I could just send regular HTML, but I'm going to use this template engine, and you'll find out why in a little bit. It's actually going to do some pretty cool things. So I'm going to close that down, and I'm going to install something called EJS. And EJS stands for, oh my gosh, I forgot. EJS, it's embedded JavaScript. Yes, embedded JavaScript. Whew. All right, so embedded JavaScript means that I can write my templates in the JavaScript language. Well, that sounds weird. It is. Let me show you. Let me show you. First thing I need to do is install the package. Okay, another 15 packages added to my ever-growing list of node modules. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and what I want to do is I want to create a folder with all of the pages that I want to go to. So I'm going to call it views. This is fairly standard to call templates that you're going to show everybody to actually call it views. So let's go into the views and let's add an index. Right. So new file, index. To figure out why. And I have to use the EJS extension. So it's giving me a kind of a weird symbol here, and you'll find out why in a moment. So let's come over to the file itself. And what I want to do is I want to create an actual page to show for the index. Rather than just rendering that one line, I'm going to actually write some HTML. All right. So one of the cool things about VS Code is that if you type exclamation mark and hit tab, it does all the boilerplate for your HTML for you. We used to have to do this by hand. So you kids, you don't know how good you got it. So let's okay. And again, I'm not going to go too much into things like tags. But okay, that's enough for now. So now I have this page. Yeah, I've not embedded any JavaScript into it. It looks like HTML and it has the same syntax as HTML with some additions to it. So let's see what we need to do in order to get this to work. So right now, if I go to my index route, which is / and I run my server, it's going to say home page by Express. So my goal here is to have this new header show up on that page. Okay. So how do I go about that? I need to do a couple things. The first thing I do is I need to actually come over to my Express server and I need to configure EJS. So I don't need to pull it into this application the same way I pulled in Morgan and Express. But I do need to set a couple things. So I'm going to run the app.set method, and I'm going to set two key value pairs. The first one is view engine. And we're going to set that view engine to EJS. And then I have to tell my application where to go in order to find my EJS templates. So I'm going to tell it to look for the views in a folder called views. And hold on. There we go. Let's just put that there. Okay, perfect. So on the left is the thing that we're setting, and on the right is the value, key value, just like an object. Okay, so this is cool. Now down here, instead of res.send, I need to actually do something else. And what does I need to do? I need to render. So let me remove res.send. And now I'm going to say res.render. And I am going to say slash. I think that'll work. Oh, wait, no, it's not slash, it's index. There we go. I don't have to put in the extension because the extension it's assumed, right? I've set the view engine up here. And now all I need to do is come back here. Nothing's crashed. That's good. Green is the happy color. I'm now rendering an actual web page. Before I just rendered a single HTML tag. If I have a look at the source of this page, you can see that this is identical to this. You see that this is basically the document that is being sent. It's also a little bit interesting that how is it being sent? Is it being sent as an EJS file? And the answer is no. It's being sent as an HTML file. And you can actually tell that by coming here. It's a type of HTML. So what is happening behind the scenes is the EJS compiler is taking my file and it's converting it to HTML. It's a very easy thing to do because it doesn't have to do anything to it. It just has to change the extension. But that's what's happening behind the scenes. Okay, this is pretty cool. I tell you what, let's do something a little bit fun. So
Sorry, I have a question. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
How come you can't just tell it to render an HTML file? That's like, why bother with the EJS part?
Ah, that's a great question, Nico, and I'm glad you asked. And I will show you that why we're using EJS in a moment, because this is going to become very useful for you in your next assignment. Okay, so we've got our EJS. And what I'm going to do here is I can chain methods off of this. So I'm going to, before the rendering the index, I'm going to put in a status code. And I'm going to put in a status code of, I don't know, 205. I don't know what 205 is, but it's a success one. Okay. Oh, wait, there we go. It's, I put too many dots there. So errors aren't always bad. They're good because they tell you you made a mistake before you even realize it. Okay, so let's go and have a look. So I'm going to refresh this page. And it's still sending a 304 because it is cache. So let's clear my cache. Sure. Here, we'll just get rid of that second one. I like having my cookies. Okay, so I've now cleared out all of the cached objects in my browser. Okay, so let's come back here. Now here, and let's refresh this. And see the 205 status code that I added has been put here. I can put any status code I want. I recommend before you do something crazy to test it out. But that's one of the great things about web development. The cost of trying new things is very low. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, well, I won't do that again. That's it. As opposed to oil painting where, oh, I ruined that oil painting. I guess 6 months I have to paint something new. Okay, so that's cool. So we've got, we can now customize our status messages. All right, let's actually do something else. What are people watching today on streaming services?
Squid Game.
Squid Game. That's yeah, that's cool. Okay, so let's add Squid. Let's create an array. Okay. I'm going to create a game. And I'm going to put, or an array. I'm going to put all right. I'm watching Foundation. I kind of like that one.
SpongeBob.
Holly, I didn't even have to look. I knew it was you. SpongeBob. Anything else? Joe, what are you watching?
Narcos. Mexico.
Narcos. Okay. I haven't seen that one, but okay, great. So I've got an array here. So what do I want to do with this array? Well, normally when we go to a page, we want to see dynamic data. So for instance, Pinterest is a good one. Here, let's just open a new tab. Okay, so Pinterest is here, and it just gives you things to inspire you. I'm nerdy, so I like spaceships, and it's showing me a lot of things like spaceships. Our star blazers. Okay, and for some reason, sheep with Peruvian people. Okay, that's cool. All right, so we've got Pinterest, and if any of you go to Pinterest, you're probably going to see completely different content, and that is dynamically generated content. And that's the whole point of most web pages. Most web pages are going to provide you with dynamically created content. So let's do that here. Let's create our own dynamically generated content. So what I want to do is I want to show these shows here, and let's create a new endpoint for the shows. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say /shows. I have to put the slash in, and right, and I'm still going to use EJS. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to res.render a file I haven't created yet, but I'm going to in a moment, called shows. And then I'm going to pass it that array. So, and the name of that array is shows. So, shows. Naming things is hard in JavaScript, and you have to remember what means what. So shows on the left-hand side will mean a file in my views folder. Shows on the right-hand side is this array here. So I'm going to send this array to another view. All right, so let's create a new view. I'm going to call it shows.ejs. Okay. And here I'm going to do the same thing I did before. All right, so we're going to call that. Okay, so let's render out all of the shows. So up until this point, well, how do I do that? I could easily do here. Let's just do an H1. We'll call it shows. And then I'm going to create an unordered list. And inside that list, I'm going to create a list item once again, you'll learn more about HTML tags later, but this is how I create a list. And now I could put the shows in one by one here. Here, let's move it to the side. And I think I will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and paste that there. And then I'm going to wait, what am I going to do? I'm going to do this, 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 this. Why would you do that to me? Okay. All right. So here are the shows. This is how I would do it undynamically. Here's how I do it statically. Okay, so I've got that set up. Let me save all my files. Okay, shows. Oh, I need to set up a route, which I've done. Okay, great. Let's go and see if it works. What's the worst that can happen, right? Okay, perfect. Here is a list of shows. All right. How do I get this to be created out of the data that I've put in? Well, luckily, I have access to the variable that I've passed in. So here is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, we'll put in H2 and say static. And then we'll do another H2 down here for data driven. All right. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before, UL, LI. However, instead of copy and pasting all these, I'm going to now use the embedded part of embedded JavaScript. Okay, so we're going to do, this is sometimes called alligator tags. I'm not sure why, but I can put in actual JavaScript in here. So I'm going to do shows.map. And then I'm going to do a show. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to write this li. Once again, I'm going to create an alligator, and I have to use a slightly different type of tag on this because I'm actually going to render something from this JavaScript. The previous JavaScript is not actually rendering anything. It's just running a map. But on this side, I'm going to say, I want you to render the show. And then I have to close off my, that it's, oh wait, I do need that, don't I? Okay. So this might be a little complicated, but what I'm going to do, or what this should do, is take the shows. It's going to go through and take each individual show, put it into a list item tag, and then keep going through it. So let's have a look. Let's save that and let's refresh. And shows is not defined. Oh my gosh. Hold on, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Oh wait, I think I know. I think I know. So let's go back here. Here. And what I need to do is I actually need to pass this in, I believe, as a as an object. Okay, so let's do that. So where is it? Shows. So I'm going to put shows between a pair of curlies. And we'll say shows.
John, I also don't think you closed off the array for the or is it just my screen? So when you say const shows in the Express server, yeah, right there. Oh, never mind. It was just closed. I just
yeah. Sorry. I'm not wide enough.
Yeah,
it's funny. I have two 27-inch monitors, and I don't have enough room to show everything that I need to. And this is more than just when I'm teaching. When I'm coding, I keep thinking, oh, I could use another monitor. My wife wonders why the heck I need all of this. All right. Let's do this one more time. There we go. This is the John did it right. I put my arms up like that when I feel like I know what I'm doing.
John, I just had a question on the syntax for the go back and go to the shows EJS.
Yeah, okay.
So the whatever they're called.
Alligator tags, yeah.
You always have to, so I just noticed there you have an equals like after the list tag.
Yeah, so this is when you want to render something to the screen, right?
Okay.
Here, I'm not rendering anything. All I'm doing is I'm mapping, but I'm not rendering something to the screen. So shows.map, this is not going to do anything. Or at least it won't do anything on the screen. And we can actually, well, if I get rid of this line for a second, you can actually see nothing is being rendered on the page, right? Because this is not outputting anything. Whereas the show is the item that I'm passing into it. And that is a string, so I want to render that string to the page.
And you always have to have the equal sign?
If you want it to appear on the screen?
Yeah,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. There's another one called Pug, another view engine called Pug. It's a lot of fun. This one's great, though. It does everything you need it to. Okay, so let me see, 10 minutes. Shall we power on, or do people need to be done on time today? Because I've taught everything I need to, but there's one more thing I'd like to show if you're interested, and that is the post function. Okay. So right at the moment, I've done some cool things, but it's not really dynamic data. It's just written in a different place, right? I can't change that data. So how do I go about changing that data? Well, I'm glad you asked. So let's have a look at how we would change the data. So let me close that. Let me save that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put at the bottom of this, oh, I hope this works. Oh, not there, under the UL. I'm going to put a form, and the action is going to be get. And I'm going to create an input, text, and the name of it is going to be show. And I'm just going to put a placeholder in it. Okay, and great. So let's see that rendered out on the page. Right, I have to refresh. Perfect. So what I want to do is I want to be able to add a show here and have it actually show up in this list. Cool, right? So first thing I did wrong is I called it a get. Really, I need a post. Great. Next thing I did wrong is not test this out before the class. So we're live coding without a net, everybody. But that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to post, and I'm going to create a button in here. I'm going to say submit. Okay. Refresh. So whenever I click this button, it is okay. It is reloading the page, and then it's sending me to a URL. So I don't actually the action actually should be the path I'm going to go to, and the path I'm going to go to is /shows. Okay, and then the method is going to be get. Okay, so let's try this one more time. We'll go back. We're going to shows. I'm going to add something, Vikings. Okay, perfect. So now it doesn't, the problem is that it doesn't have a post. Cannot get post. It's sending me to the wrong place. Oh, you know what I need to do? Do I need to do? Action should be shows. Method should be post. Let me restart. Sometimes you just need to boot it a little bit. Let's go back. Let's submit Vikings. And I am doing something wrong. Okay, we'll figure it out. Let's figure it out. MDN form method. The beauty of being the advantage of being a senior developer over a junior developer is that we can recover faster from an error. So let's have a look. So we've got action equals method equals. Okay, so right. And the action is, what is the action? Attributes. All right, action, the URL that processes the form submission. This value can be overwritten by a form action attribute on a button. Okay, that's fine. Element, this element is ignored when method dialog is set. Okay, so action is going to, should work. What am I doing wrong here? All right, let me close that because it's this page I want, not that page. This page, there we go. So let's go to shows. So shows, the get on shows works. If I add Vikings again, All right, that's exactly what I want. So it's telling me I cannot post to the show's endpoint. Okay. How do I do that? Well, let's go back to my expressserver.js. And I've got this app.get for shows, but I can also do an app.post for the same. And I have to put a slash here. And it's still going to take the same thing. Comma. Okay, so the request is going to go in, and I'm still going to render the same thing. What are you complaining about? There we go. But I want to dynamically add. So how do I do that? Well, I can post. So let's have a look. I'm just going to console.log the req dot body. Is it dot body? I think it's dot body. Okay, so let's see what happens when I go and submit Vikings. Okay, how cool is that? I am getting undefined, but I'm no longer getting an error. So I am actually headed to that. Notice that while I didn't add Vikings to my list or have anything show up in my console.log, the page didn't crash. It didn't say cannot post. It's accepted the post. It's not done anything with the post, but it's accepted it. So that's good, and it's answered back. So let's go back and see. So if it's rec.body, I think params. I'm doing this off the top of my head. Let's see. Okay, no params. That's good. So how do I extract data from form? See how beautiful this is. Form data equals new, data dot get field name. Stop using jQuery in your answers. All right, and let's go back. Here we go. This is going to be better. Rec.query. See, it was something like that. Okay, let's have a look at the rec.query. Okay, once again, we're going to reload that. Once again, let's pop in Vikings. I haven't watched Vikings, but I'm told it's good. And starting. Okay, why am I not getting anything? It was saved here. Right, rec.query. Now I'm wondering if I'm doing it the right way. Hold on. Virus seed name is rec.query.username. Or I could be fancy and do that.
I just checked it, John. It says you need something like body parser. Is that...
You don't need body parser anymore. In the past, you did need body parser, but thank you. You have reminded me what it is, and that is a piece of middleware. And believe that this will work now. Or not. Hold on. Unexpected token. Oh, right, because I left it unfinished down there. Shows shows post. Here we go. Rec dot query dot. Well, let's do that. Perfect. I didn't crash. Crashing isn't always bad. We'll submit this. Still not. Okay. So our username equals rec.body.username. Express middleware JSON. And yeah, I know require express app equals express. And we new router object, that's fine. Express.json, here we go. Options, okay.
Yeah.
I'm so embarrassed. This should have worked. Okay. One more time with feeling. You're going to find that you do this from time to time. Your variables start, or your test data starts to get a little weird.
John, we named our input with the show. Maybe is that something that we need?
Right. So if I do, I tell you what we could do. Let's look at the entire request object, because it's going to be on there somewhere. Okay, and we'll choose Vikings and we'll submit. Perfect. Yes, I know it's a big, long, it's that big, long thing, but hopefully it's not going to take me very long to find it. Boy, that is a lot. Rec.query. There's the headers. Okay, great. The trailers. The URL. Perfect. The method. Okay. This is the request object. And where is the data? The data. Server, that's fine. Parser, HTTP parser. Okay. All right. What do I do here? I know. I can.
Do you have to get it using the tag, like identifying the tag?
Yes. Here's CD, true demos and reviews. See. There we go. I'm just having a look at an older version or something that I've done in the past. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Okay, great. App equals express. App.use express.json. So I did the right thing. And bunch of, okay. That is express.json. That looks the same to me. Okay. This is a little more advanced.
Or do you have to use next in the
I shouldn't have to. Oh,
Can we? Okay.
oh, I know. No,
If we use request.body.name, is that
right. Notes. Here we go. JSON.stringify. Oh, right, because they're using this as a backend. Okay, I am not going to waste much more time with this. I will get this to work and I will share this code with you, but I'm not going to keep you much longer because your time is valuable. So the post would have added a line to this, or added a new show. If I'm sure it's something really stupid and small, and I will get it to work. But in the meantime, awesome. So that's the content for today. I actually recorded the entire thing. Thank you, Jang, and everyone else. I will share this with you in the normal place. Please let me know if there are any technical issues. There seems to, Vimeo seems to not like me sometimes, so I may post this to YouTube or something like that. All right. Okay, everyone. Sorry we ended up on a flat note, but the rest of it went well. So you rock. All of you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
John.
All right, thank you, John.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hey, I forgot to add something earlier.
Yeah.
I have two things. So first one's probably a very dumb question, but we install Express. Do you just go to your like Vagrant machine and it's global, or do you gotta do something more specific? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I did
Well,
accidentally-
Express
yeah.
is a per project.
Okay.
So every project that you create that needs Express, you need to do that same thing. So we do the npm init to create the package.json file, and all
Right.
the dependencies that we then add will end up in that file listed.
Okay, because I put it at the top of my Vagrant machine, like right when you were like, here's Express, and that just was like how to install Express, and I put it there. So I don't know if it's gonna get a problem with like, you know, when you have like Git
It
inside
shouldn't
your Git
be.
stuff.
Express does have like a command line tool that I don't recommend for this course, because doing things the hard way is how you learn. So
okay.
so just it shouldn't mess anything up though. So when you create a node project, you just npm init-y and then npm install Express, and then you'll be able to create your own Express server. Okay.
Okay, sweet. And second thing is I forgot when we're doing Ruby on Rails, but do we need a different IDE for that, or is it still just VS Code?
No, we're still going to use VS Code. VS Code does
Okay.
everything.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I was just looking at Komodo, but then I just saw it's like $300 for one person.
Yeah,
So-
there's JetBrains has RubyMine, and there's a bunch of others,
Yeah.
but don't
I have
shell
I have
out for those.
IntelliJ
IntelliJ, yeah,
for Java a bit before this
Yep.
thing started, but yeah, I think there's Apache NetBeans too.
yeah. I've done all my Rails coding with VS Code, and I've been quite happy with it. So
Okay, is there like what else would this? Is the only other like functionality to this that like you can just use C and stuff on it, or what was different? I'm just curious about
with Ruby on Rails, you
like
mean?
no the more intense IDEs.
They offer
Or-
different tools. They different. So you know how VS Code like does a lot of things for me. I
Yeah.
don't have to exclamation mark tab creates an entire web page for me. They
Right.
just have different ways of doing things. VS Code kind of has taken over the programming world because it's free.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's just so okay. Yeah, I got you. Makes sense.
Yeah, there you can look at plugins for Ruby. The Ruby on Rails content is not super intense though, so we're not going to make you use like all the nooks and crannies of Ruby on Rails. It's going to
Okay.
be very basic.
Yeah, I was just because I will have some spare time, so I was interested in learning C because a buddy of mine was telling me that it's useful to learn because it's like there's no mystery. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of you see everything more. at, like,
Yeah,
lower level.
it's a lower level language than the ones that I've been teaching. You will always need JavaScript because that is the language of web servers.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you
for sure.
you need, or web browsers at least. Web browsers speak HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and that's it.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
well, technically Rust, but never mind.
Okay.
WebAssembly. But yeah. All right.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Okay, cool. Hey, no worries, man.
Have a good one.
Yeah. See you next week.
Yep.